Well, today I'm going to do a review on G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. First off, when I heard the title of the G.I. Joe movie, I was kind of disappointed just in the title by itself. Well, let's talk a little bit about it. First off, I'll probably have to do some spoilers in here, so there's a disclaimer. There's some spoilers perhaps coming up. So if you haven't seen the movie, see the movie first and come back with a review and let me know if you agree with it or not. Put it in the comments and so forth on there. First off, a little bit of the history of G.I. Joe and myself. I've been around since I actually did have the figure with the kung fu grip and so forth like that. Then the action figures, the 3.5-inch action figures came along, and of course when the comic book came out, Hasbro had a way to sell their toys, so that was a good marketing thing. However, the comics themselves weren't for kids necessarily. I mean, people got killed. There were political things. There were situations. They were complicated. There were great stories. And I remember reading the comic books and having to look up words, because some of these words I didn't know what they were, and I started using them in my vocabulary as well. And it was really amazing. The writers had a really good foundation of history, of just a lot of really great things with the comic book itself. Then as time went on, they made a cartoon of it, and of course it's going to be watered down. Basically, I don't know, like, remember the Super Friends? Basically, they had a no hitting rule on Super Friends. So basically, you know, Solomon Grundy, and all he could do was hug somebody, bear hug somebody, because you couldn't hit on the Super Friends. Well, basically, they had to water down, so they had all these lasers going on. They had Shipwreck. Who cares about Shipwreck? Talking to his parrot and whatnot like that. And for me, the original Joes, the Joes that I really cared a lot about were Snake Eyes. Clutch was my main guy. I really liked Clutch a lot. Rock and Roll was really cool. Scarlet was there. Of course, General Hawk was there. And Breaker was there. I mean, you can kind of go down to the original Joe. Stalker was there, and so forth like that. And as time goes on, they added more Joes. And as time went on, a lot of the Joes got to be really kind of ridiculous in a lot of ways. And basically the guys at the comic book had to put in some of that part, but they were still going to make a comic book that was good on there. So anyway, so I know the history. I know the history of Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes and Scarlet and Stalker and Clutch and all the cats, where G.I. Joe is at and so forth like that. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the movie itself. Forever, G.I. Joe was the American hero, and some of the comments are talking about this is not really an American movie, and I'll be honest with you, that really didn't bother me that much. The pit's supposed to be in New Jersey, basically. And the pit is not in New Jersey. It's in, basically, I guess here's a spoiler. It's in Egypt. So basically, instead of G.I. Joe being a regular the military organization from the U.S., it's now an international UN base. The best of every country has somebody in there, basically. I can live with that. I can live with that. If you're fighting the world evils, I can live with it, and I can see that you're having the best of the best. That didn't bother me in the film at all, really. Really, in a lot of ways, if you go see G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, and had no background about G.I. Joe, it would still be fine. They changed a lot of the canon according to the comic book. The cartoon, I don't count at all. That's like no canon to me. I count the comic book, and that's what I really cared about and really enjoyed a lot on there. And some of the stuff on here, on the film itself, it is actually pretty deep. There's a good story. The screenplay is really good. You care about the characters, and really it's kind of the plight of Duke and Ripcord. How they become Joes, and then with some of the seasoned Joes in there and their interactions with various members of the Joes, and basically Cobra is now rising at this point on there. So it's actually a really good film. There's flashbacks. You kind of see the history between Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. You can kind of see some of the backstory between Duke and one of the bad guys. I won't say so much, so I won't give too many spoilers on there. And there is really a cool backstory, even though it's not canon. It's in the spirit of what G.I. Joe, and it's in the spirit of what the writers probably would have done back in the 80s with a comic book per se. So it's actually not. It's actually good. I can live with it. The CGI, the special effects, yeah, there's some really cool things in there. The chase scene in Paris, and really, for me, it's really amazing because I've been in Paris a couple of times, and yeah, I'll stand right there, and they're just driving right by it, and you know, they're right in front of the Eiffel Tower, and I recognize these places that I've been at before, and I could tell that if they weren't in Paris, they had some really good CGI, or the master shots were in Paris or something, because I believe they were in Paris. I believe they were in Egypt. The countries that they're at and so forth. And basically, a couple of small things. You know, if you're a fan. Actually, let me talk about some of the positives in there. Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow ninjas. They're fighting it out. I finally get a chance to see Snake Eyes and Stormtrooper. And here's a spoiler: Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow fight to the death. And we've been wanting to see that forever in the comic book. Actually, in the comic book, they actually become friends, and actually, Storm Shadow eventually becomes Joe in some ways. But you know, this, of course, is not following in canon of the comic book. Little things like Scarlet having a crossbow, and basically with a pretty cool electronic gizmo, makes sense to have that. Couple of things like the suits that, you know, if you're going to give the two new guys the suits to do things, I'm like, eh. And what I love was that Snake Eyes was able to hang in there without a suit and basically save the day, as he usually does, because Snake Eyes doesn't give up. Some of the bad guys, the backstory from Destro is really interesting, kind of similar to the backstory in the comic book. The backstory of the Baroness and Cobra Commander isn't the canon on there, and they had Zartan, which I'm surprised to have him in there. I would like to see Major Blood in there, but you know, maybe they do a sequel, maybe they'll put Major Blood in there. I'm trying to think, and also a couple other things here, a couple of spoilers. I thought there were going to be a few more Joes, at least from the some of the previews and whatnot, that weren't in there. So. And of course, you know, there's so many Joes. You can't put every single Joes in there. I mean, basically, you have Roadblock is kind of the main guy, kind of the drill sergeant, or the you really can't tell the ranks. One thing that I wish that Duke originally was the first sergeant in G.I. Joe, and he came like the third generation of Joe, so he wasn't one of the initial Joes on there. Here he's a captain, so he's an officer. Alright, I guess I can live with that. Ripcord is a sergeant, and then he's going to be flying jets. Alright, I guess we can take that too, because we really, I guess at this point, ranks really don't matter a whole lot. General Hawk's there doing his thing. And basically, I was going in there expecting that this movie was going to be The Matrix meets Blade. And it was going to suck horrible. It was going to be a horrible movie, make my childhood cry. And I was watching the film, and after it was over, I thought, this is a good film. I'm not going to say it's a great film. It's not Star Wars 77. It's a good film. It's a good, solid film. It's a good Hollywood shoot 'em up, blow 'em up movie with a plot, with stories. And the one thing about this movie is that you actually care about Duke. You actually care about Ripcord. You actually care about Scarlet and the Baroness and Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, Destro, and Cobra Commander. You actually care about the people in it, and that was the difference between the you know, like I guess Transformers 2 or something like that, some this junk movie out there that you could care less about because you don't care about the person. You care about the people. There's a lot of CGI in this, and they spent a lot of money making this happen. For me, a lot of the characters actually looked similar to the comic book, and for me, that shows they were paying homage to the old comic book fans. I can live with that. It's just a good, solid movie. It really is. I think of the chase scenes in there, the chase scenes in Paris in particular, just amazing. I have not seen the chase like that before, done that way before, and it really is amazing in so many aspects. Ripcord is the comic relief, and I think I would have toned him down a little bit more. And really, in some ways, it is kind of a perfect balance between, because we only have like one joke, it's not going to be enough, so you need some balance going on there. I think it works really well in here. A couple of things like from the comic book. Again, when they went to the cartoon, Snake Eyes is the talk. And there's a whole backstory between Snake Eyes, Scarlet, and Stalker in the comic book. In here, they didn't go through the backstory other than Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, which is a cool backstory by itself. There's one famous comic book with G.I. Joe that basically there's not one line of dialogue. And basically Snake Eyes goes in to rescue and fights Storm Shadow, and the whole comic book, there's not one line of text. It's all just visuals. And that was a groundbreaking comic at the time on there. Well, when they went to cartoon, well, they couldn't have Snake Eyes and Scarlet because Snake Eyes doesn't talk. It's hard to have like a romance going on if the lead character can't talk. So they basically switched Scarlet, like in somebody else in the cartoon, which is fine on there. And the backstory, I'll give you the backstory because it's such a cool backstory. Because again, this is 1982. The comic came out, so they were all basically in Vietnam. And Snake Eyes, was a ninja. Scarlet and him were seeing each other, and basically they're flying out a helicopter. The helicopter gets shot. Scarlet's about to fall out. Snake Eyes grabs her, and the engine's on fire. The engine catches Snake Eyes' face on fire, and he's holding on to Scarlet, and he saves her, and they land the chopper down. And from that point on, his vocal cords got all where he can't talk. His face is disfigured, and that's why he wears a mask. So that answers that question here. Here's another spoiler. It's basically saying that once Snake Eyes saw his master get killed, he took a vow of silence. Easy way out of explaining it for a movie. So for the comic book though is this, and it shows the bond between Snake Eyes and Scarlet and Stalker so much. What their backstory really is, and in the comic book, it took years for us to finally get that backstory to know. It was there. You knew it was there, but when you finally read it, it's like, yeah, this is written perfectly on there. I want to say this, that the writers must have been fans of the original comic book. They did a great job. The editors did a great job pacing. I wasn't bored at any time in there. The pacing was solid. The first couple minutes, bang, 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 action, 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 pulls you into the story, gets you up to the plot point one, gets you going this, that, and the other. I mean, it's a good, solid film. The soundtrack sounds great. They had some cool little jokes like "No one's half the battle" and "Kung Fu Grip." They had a couple of those lines referring to G.I. Joes and so forth like that. And there's some classic lines in there for the fans and so forth. So I'm going to say this, 9 out of 10. I'm going to give it a 9. And I was expecting to give this thing a 0.0. So I was pleasantly surprised with this. Because all the bad press, and I think a lot of people probably haven't seen the film that they're giving it reviews. I'm a fan. If this movie was horrible, I would tell you, do not go see this movie. It's not. It's a good film. If you're a fan of G.I. Joe, I think you'll enjoy it. If you're not a fan of G.I. Joe and you like action and something with a plot, characters you care about, it's a great film. It blows away, in my mind, the Transformers, both of them. Blows away the last Terminator movie. I think it's even though I like Terminator 3, I think this movie blows away Terminator 3. It's not as... The Star Trek movie, I'm trying to think if I actually like this movie better than the Star Trek movie. I think I actually do. I actually kind of like this film better than the Star Trek movie that came out. I mean, I like the original Star Trek better, of course. So I'm giving this a 9 out of 10, and maybe 9.5 if I really think about it hard, because it was really that good of a film. I'm just really shocked and surprised it turned out that well. So will I go see it again? Probably not. This is probably, you see it once, you wait for the DVD out and watch it, and I can't wait for the director's commentary because I really want to hear how they were able to put some of this stuff together. I mean, it really, I don't know what the budget, I guess I could look at what the budget was on this film. And for a lot of unknowns on there, they look great. I thought the acting was great. I really can't say anything bad about the film. There's a small, the romance between Scarlet and another character. I won't give that away. I kind of think, and actually on there, you actually see Scarlet touching Snake Eyes, and Snake Eyes touching Scarlet, so kind of the subtext. But again, Snake Eyes doesn't talk, so it's really kind of hard to have a romance on screen if the guy can't, Snake Eyes can't talk. Anyways, I give it 2 thumbs up. I give it 9 out of 10. Go see G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra. Even though the title's not that cool, I think if you want a good fun time in a movie, this is it. This is the film this summer, other than Star Trek. Everything else has been pretty much junkola. So I say go see G.I. Joe now because it's in here. Star Trek, if it's still out there, go see that too. So anyways, go Yo Joe. Thank you whoever made this film for making a film that's all right. Now, one last thing before I'll end this. This is not the film that I saw in my head like in 1982 or 1986. This is a film that's 2009. It works really well for the audiences that are text message based and cell phone based and so forth. And I liked it. I mean, if I didn't like it, I would tell you it's a horrible movie. Don't go see it. It's a good movie. Go see it. I would still like to see a movie, sort of like how the fans of The Watchmen say that basically it follows the graphic novel. This didn't follow the canon that I knew, and I guess that's never going to happen. However, this does give me some hope for the next Remo Williams movie, because now they got the CGI that pull this thing up. They make Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes go full force at it, and you believe every second of it. They can do Remo now. Remo can be done very easily now, and I guess that's one of the benefits of the CGI stuff. Anyways, Yo Joe, go see Cobra. I mean G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra, and rock and roll.